Okay, here we are at ArneCON, version 0.2. After a hiatus since 2017 due to COVID and my moving, and now we're back in business again. We've had some visitors like Victor Drosko with DaveCon. We have David McGarry home. We have Bill Hoyt here. We have David Wesley about to start his Brownstein game. We have Robert Mayer, who did his Blackmoor game. Chandra, who's trying to do another Blackmoor game. Turned out as well, but we actually had a very short notice. So we didn't have much chance. Either way, next year we'll have more advance notice. I was told to try to get it organized again next year. Being knowing what's going on, I'll probably aim more for October 1st or 2nd. Now, I have a question for you, Bill Hoyt. Now, you in, what was it, 1960?
66 is when I got into the group.
Yep. In 1969, I believe you met, possibly 69 or even 68. I'll have to double check on the chart, but you met with Dave, Gary, and you talked about forming
the Castle Crusade Society.
Yep. And in that, Gary brought up the whole idea of doing a fictional Napoleonic game, but set in medieval setting.
Yeah.
So it is a quote-unquote fictional medieval war game, which eventually had the rules published for the combat.
Which ended up being a chainmail, but it wasn't originally.
Yeah.
We were going to look for rules and collect figures to bring to GenCon.
Right. And now I know that Jeff Perrin had published in Domesday number 5.
That's right.
The official Lake Geneva combat rules.
Right.
For the game. So just a moment. Yeah, and so you guys were talking about it. This was, as you recall, Gary's initial impetus to do this. Now, this is actually after Arneson's already been doing his fictional Napoleonics. Yeah. And I don't know if from your experience, was Gary doing a fictional Napoleonic as well?
Well, we heard of it.
Okay.
I mean, once our Arneson had talked about it, that was after we start getting the two groups together. And this was the first or second GenCon that I was at.
Right.
And I'm not sure whether it was the first one or not, but we were in Gary's basement just before the beginning of GenCon.
And if I look at the earliest, or shall we say the latest it could have happened, would have been 69, because the publication of the rules and magazine was early 70. But a possibility it may have even occurred 68. But it would not be the GenCon in which they were at Gary's house. They were elsewhere, but you went to his house to do this?
No, this was the second time, because we were at the Horticulture Hall.
Okay, so, it's 69 then, I think.
I did not know about the first one. I heard that, somebody told me now that Hugh Cantrell, a friend of mine, had gone down there, possibly with Kurt Triplett, and I'm not sure because we don't know. There was another fellow from the cities who went down there.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they were the ones that came to that very first GenCon, the one in Gary's house.
Oh, by the way, audience, just in case you want to know why I stopped the videos, because I have DoorDash on my hand. I just wanted to see if they were here. Anyway, now Arneson took the idea very heavily from what you saw, and as we understand, he and Dwayne Jenkins went off and
Yes, and they came up with their own idea. That's where we were still playing the Napoleonic games by that time.
Yep.
And that was, because Dave was still running the Napoleonics when we started Castle Crusade Society. They were both running.
Yep.
And Dave asked me to bring that, well, we're gonna set up a game for the Castle's Crusade Society. You've got figures, and I don't have any figures. Can we have it at your house? And I said, well, sure. So he comes over, and now that we have figured it out, because all I ever saw the rules that Dave used for the combat in that, they were just notes that he had in his notebook. And I'm sure they probably were taken from that,
The Domesday Book,
Yeah.
number 5.
it could have been the Doomsday Book, which, was that the first issue of the Doomsday Book?
That is number 5. They
Oh, then that's gonna be really tough on that, because you have to check the date. Of
Yep.
course, it might be, because.
If you're
see,
69 and that
we're-
came out in 70,
Yeah.
that would be enough time, I think.
Okay, sure, it would be, when you think about it, because,
About a half a year's already passed by that point.
yeah, half a year. And that.
Or more,
That, well, the Doomsday Book was coming out monthly,
Yeah,
so that would be, explain it.
monthly or bi-monthly, but yeah, it was,
Yeah, I didn't even know the Doomsday Book existed at that time.
yeah, and I think a lot of players did. And when you guys eventually saw the chainmail in publication, as by Gaiden and then later by
That's when I
TSR.
found that the next year at GenCon.
Yeah, okay.
And then the next year came out the one that had the fantasy supplement in it.
And I do.
We had to buy that one.
Well, I know that.
Guy Jack's way of making money. No.
I do remember talking with Arneson, and which is why it's always been quoted from the webpage we have up, is that he said that it came from the Domesday Book. He called it the Chainmail Rules. Although we know it became the Chainmail Rules, it wasn't called that now that we look at it. But everyone apparently kept referring to it as chainmail. So when he's referring to the first chainmail rules without the fantasy supplement, that was it. Because Gaiden, which was the first publication with chainmail, already
Right,
had.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. This is a key point. I just want to make sure it's documented.
No, why not? Yeah.
All right. Cool. I think my food's here.
Yeah.